Hello everyone. Today I was looking at my iPad and a video popped up by Lou Collins, and she was making this card. Not this one, her one. But I was just so taken with the look of the card that I thought, oh crikey, I must watch this. And I was mesmerised. I thought her design, her instructions, balance, everything was just wonderful, and I just was desperate to have a go. So I went rummaging through my stamps to see what I'd got, to see what I could come up with to make the card. She had a much bigger one, I think she said it was an 8-inch card, whereas this one is a 6. So normally, you know, I do quite like mixed media, but a lot of it is very sort of dark and intense, and I thought this was different. I loved it, absolutely loved it. So what I thought I would do now is to see if I can scale it down even more, or a version even more, so that I can put it onto a card base and it would be much more kind of clean and simple. But I just, don't you think that's fab? The scary bit was putting this dark, the black underneath the butterfly. Oh, scary, scary. But we prevailed. Anyway, you may be happy to know also that I use some of my homemade embossing on here as well, some embossing paste. So let's have a go. So she started off with a piece of acrylic acetate, should I say, of some description, as a palette to add colour to the card. And I've got a smudge on that already, but I'm not going to worry. This is a piece of watercolour card, which I've cut down to whatever size this is, 4-inch square about. So if it goes on a 6-inch square, I'll have a fairly big border around it. Right, so the colours: Ice Spruce, Salvaged Patina, Dried Marigold, and Vintage Photo of Distress Oxides. Love this colour. I did a tag with this colour the other week. Just love it. But I wouldn't have known how to sort of mix the colours together. And these colours together, I think, are a brilliant mix. So I'm watch this space kind of thing. You might see quite a lot of this. I'm going to spritz my paper. Going to put some Ice Spruce onto here, spritz that, and then just dab some onto here. Where's my paper towel? Take a bit of that off. There we go. Right, colour number 2. You know, it's a bit scary, isn't it, really? But we will prevail. Look at that. Salvage pattern. I love this colour too. So, the joy of using one of these things is you can just kind of see through where the colour's going. Put a bit down here. Let's just move that around a bit. There we go. With this small space, I could have just done one dollop on there, couldn't I, really? Never mind. When it is hit with the water, often oxides, you can see various colours that they are comprised of within it. So let's have a go with this one. Oh, don't like the line. Let's just see if we can get rid of it. Oh, another line. Oh, it's rather a lot, but never mind. Each one will be different. Life's rich tapestry. Let's get a drop more paper towel. Sort of thing I'm forever putting down and then I can't find it. Let's have some of the darkest brown there. Vintage photo. I keep putting two on, but I've only got such a small space. Right. I think I might have been better off for something as small as this, perhaps using an acrylic block. Perhaps a smaller piece, maybe a smaller piece. I will learn, won't I? But it's fun. Life's rich tapestry. Let me dry that off. See straight away that I've got much too much brown there. I haven't got enough base colour. This is the base colour. I will press on, but if you look at that already, can you see? There's just too much. There's just too much. Let me put some of this on. I'm going to use some of my embossing paste here. Oopsie-daisy. I used some Sizzix High 3D something or other, but it was, I didn't realise actually it was a translucent one, and so it didn't dry quite as I thought it was going to. I thought it was going to dry white, and it dried, well, translucent. Let's just take those bits off. Okay, don't want any more. This is the Gummiapan stencil. I might have to just do a bit and stop and do a bit and stop with this one actually. Right, there we go. I will just wipe this off. This looks kind of shiny at the minute, the embossing paste, but it will dry more matte finish. I can always put some microglaze on if I want it to be a little more shiny in the end, so we will see. Okay, now the other thing on here is lots of bits of stamping. If you can see, I've got some music manuscript here, I've got some stitching, various bits and bobs around. So let's just do a bit of stamping. One thing I did dig out was a little, this is a little music manuscript hexagon from Clearly Besotted. It is donkey's years old, absolutely donkey's years old, but I haven't used it for ages. I've been tending to do far more die cutting recently than stamping, so I'll just see how we go. Put this where I'm going to put a little arrow which is around. It's just kind of almost subliminal really. I'm just trying to be careful to avoid where I went with the stenciling. Let's put this here. I want this to be a musically themed thing. Instead of a butterfly on this one, I have a fancy for having a treble clef. Don't quite know if I might probably put the whole thing on this one. Right, whereas the butterfly went off the edge, I think this one is going to be called for, to do the whole thing. I've got I was looking online thinking, oh, I'd love some stitching, and I had to start having a look through my stamps. These were some that I bought at the NEC donkeys years ago. Can't remember the make, but it's a row of stitching that does this business, you know. So I thought I'd put some of this on. So there's lots of rows of, I don't want to get anything in my way. Shall I use the other end? Doesn't matter really. One thing I discovered on my retreat that I went on with Indigo Blue was when you're adding things, we were putting the background on. Do you remember my beautiful stand that I've got my gilding flakes on? If you go horizontal and vertical, it looks more sort of satisfying somehow than a lot of slightly off things. I don't know what I'm doing here, but we'll have a go. Right. Now, let me have a look at the original and see what else was done. Got a bit of stamping, a bit of embossing, because I was following the tutorial for this one, you understand. So let me just, I've cut out some smaller. These are smaller than those. These are the smallest hexagons I've got, and I thought we'd have a look at where these could go on this side and where they would be in relation to the treble clef. Let's have I just stamped on a tiny bit of watercolor paper that was kind of left over, and just cut out as many as I could get from that piece of paper. Don't know what to do really. That might look quite nice, wouldn't it? Right. Well, what I think I'm going to do, I'll just do the edges of these with some black, just to give them a bit more definition. Just the very edge, so I'm coming from underneath to define these. And then these can be popped up onto a bit of foam tape. I thought I had a load of, well, I have got various hexagons, but these, I thought I had more small ones, but not, I'm afraid. I really rather like the numbers, actually. They're quite nice. From Gummiapan, I had a message today to say my Gummiapan parcel has left Sweden, or is leaving Sweden, so very soon I'll be having some more. And I imagine soon I'll let you know as soon as I know when you can order the advent calendar. I think this year it might be very popular. And after this, I'm going to have to go and wash my hands. So I'll do that, and then I will come back and we will continue. Last one. There's just too much brown on that for my liking. Just too much. I think I might... there we go. I might come back another time with a... Mind you, a lot of that's going to get covered up with the treble clef, isn't it? And these things. So it might not be so bad. We won't lose hope just yet. Okay, I'm going to wash my hands and I will be back. When I'm back, all I've done since I stopped the last one is just to stick on these hexagons on some foam tape, and I've tried to put them so that, you know, in fact they're a backdrop for the treble clef. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but we'll see. What I want to do now is to do the accentuating a little bit at the back of this shape, which is like on this one here where all the black went in, and I found that incredibly daunting to do that. The thought of, you know, heaping around a load of black ink or paint or whatever would be quite well, scary really. So I've got some black soot distress ink refill here, so I'm just going to put a drop on my mat. I've got a brush, I've got some water. I'm just going to see, oh dear, this is scary. A bit more water, I think. Right, in and around, kind of. Get rid of some of that awful brown. Actually, I looked back at Lou's video of you know, the instructions for the butterfly card, and I've actually used the wrong colour. Not that it matters, I suppose, but it would have been good if I'd used the right thing. I used the wrong brown. Here I've got Vintage Photo, and I think in Lou's original video she used Rusty Hinge. Doesn't it make it's so much nicer when she put a bit of water on it? It just, the edges spread, and oh, it's lovely. Right, I'm going to just kind of leave that for a mo and work on the treble clef. I started off with this teal card and I cut 2 treble clefs and stack them together. Just wondering whether to dry that a little bit or leave it to do its own thing. I think perhaps I'll just leave it to do its own thing for a minute or two. And the first thing that Lou did with her butterfly was to give it a bit of a spritz, first of all, with some mica spray. So I'm going to do the same. Here's my spray box. Let me move that out of the way for a minute somewhere safe. Right, here's my spray box. I'm going to pop that in there. Can you see it? I believe you can. A bit shadowy, but can I move it further back? Is that better? A bit better. You can see it there. So I've got here some pretty gritty, pretty metallic spray, and it's called Bronze. I'll give it a bit of a shake and a squirt. Not too much, I think that'll do. Right, and this stuff does actually dry really, really quickly. So I'm going to take that out of there, put it back on my mat. And now I'm going to add some rusty effects. I think what Lou did was to put some black embossing paste and a mix of 3 different embossing powders, but she didn't melt it, she just put it on. Well, in one of my little pots, my useful pots, I found this stuff, and I can't remember what it is. I think what it actually is is a mix of luscious powder, bronze or copper or something like that, and some clear embossing powder. That's what I think it is. Not sure, but we'll see. So what I'm going to have a go at doing is adding, like Lou did, random little bits of black embossing paste and then sprinkling this onto that paste. She used black, I think, so that any areas that weren't covered would still look dark and not stick out like a sore thumb if it was, because, for example, if it was white. So here's my homemade black embossing paste. I will get a little, I don't know whether to put it on by palette knife or whether to put it on with a brush. I've got a tiny palette knife. Can't remember what I did with the other one really, but just in odd places. Distressing. I remember once when I first started card making, I heard about this distressing lark and I didn't know what it was all about really, and I went on a course, you know, a session in a craft shop, in fact, and it was stuff like, you know, ripping the edges and making them jaggy with the edge of a pair of scissors, but it was a revelation to me, absolute revelation. It just takes things out of the ordinary just to make a few changes. I think it's brilliant. I can always add a bit more afterwards if I don't like the effect, but it's just wants to be sort of randomy. I should have put my gloves on, shouldn't I? Let me get a piece of baby wipe. Could do with shares in baby wipes, I think. I've got so many. Right. Some people were saying they enjoyed little stories that I was saying about my grandma, things she used to do. She was a very short lady and quite round. And at one point, I went to stay with my granny for a few weeks. My mother wasn't well, and my granny used to take me to school and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, one day she had a fall when she was in the town, and she was telling her neighbour about it, and he said, "Oh, didn't you bounce up?" Very brave man saying that to my grandma. Oh dear, she was round, I must confess. And very homely, bless her. She lived to be, I don't know, 90, I think. My mum was 90 odd. So, let's see how we go with this. Oh, it's quite nice, isn't it? What do you think of that? Oh, that's quite nice. Let's just put a little bit, how's my palette knife? A bit more just there. There we go. Oh, that's quite nice. I don't know that I would have thought of doing this as a means of distressing, but it's a good idea. Right, I'm going to shoot this back into there. So I'm not going to heat it, I don't think. We'll just leave it. It's rather nice. It looks decidedly rustic, doesn't it? And my daughter-in-law was on the radio yesterday, on the national radio, Woman's Hour, because she's a menopause specialist, and she was being interviewed on Woman's Hour. So, what it is to have clever kids, eh? Anyway, right, here we go. Let's see how we're doing. Where's my background? There it is. I'm not sure if that's the right colour actually for the. This is too yellow for this. What am I going to do about that? Perhaps I'll put a bit of more yellowy stuff on that. Perhaps that might do it. I think that might just kind of do it. If I get, oh, let's have a look at my luscious powder here. Here are my luscious powders. I want something to tone in with that. That's a better colour, isn't it? Let me try this. Put those down. What's this colour called? It's called bronze, but that is more coppery, you see, isn't it? And that is more... Let me just do something with this. Where's my black again? Here it is. Oh dear. All right, let's have another little go. I did like the look of that, but it wasn't quite... I just need to add the tone to get in with that yellowy there. It just, this is kind of fighting at the minute. I think it'd be all right in bits, as long as there's not too much of it evident all over. Right, let's see what we can do with this. Oh Lord, look at these fingers. The Black Hand Gang. Oh, crumbs, there we go. Right. Perhaps I'll just use a soft brush to put this on. I'm not exactly rusty, it's just distressed. Right, let's have a little dust off and see where we are. See if this looks any better. Yeah, that's a lot better, isn't it? That's a lot better, okay. Right, fingers again. Now, what I want to do is to just give a little bit of colour to the edges of this panel. And to do that, I'm going to use the iced spruce again. I think we've got rid of quite a lot of the brown that I was worried about to start with. But I can do another quick break to go and wash my hands again. Oh dear, 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 dear. Right, let's just do the edges. Right. Take that off for a minute. No, on yesterday's, the mix, also wherever it is, the coppery mix seemed to be fine on the butterfly, but on here it just didn't seem to want to go. I have added just another couple of bits of stamping too, in fact. Now the only thing that I did yesterday for the butterfly card that I haven't done today was to add some little bits of foliage cut from some vellum coloured with this same iced spruce and we need a sentiment, don't we? Yesterday I did these on the computer. I didn't have any sentiments, negative ones like this, if you know what I mean, white on black rather than black on white. So what I did, I drew a couple of text boxes which I backfilled with black. The words I changed to white and just printed off and then trimmed down to the size of those particular sentiments. And I think I would propose to do something similar for this one as well. So, do I need some foliage? do I not? Where's a, I'm going to put it on the back of this so you can just see the effect. It does look a lot more clean and simple, doesn't it? I guess if you put it on a... It's not clean and simple at all, really, but you know what I mean. It's more white. So, I don't know what you think a good sentiment would be for this one, which is music-y. I think it would go down well with members of my choir. So, there's another one. Don't know what you think. I ought to put it on a different thing, shouldn't I haven't got another square one handy, but it's not big enough. Whatever. Anyway, thank you ever so much for watching, and thank you, Lou Collins, for the wonderful, wonderful tutorial that showed me how to do it.